Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. Sorry, we're starting this one a little earlier. We're not getting to watch the second games of the day because I got a flight. But Mitchell, what's some barn burners?
Holy shit. I mean, first off, Richard, we saw a lot of barn burners. I'm watching one right now. I'm watching the Detroit Lions live against the Chargers, kicking that ass. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, 1-2 punch. But Richard, San Francisco bounced back. Holy cow, 34-3. They needed this game. They're healthy. They look good. I thought it was a myth the last 3 games, man. And I think we're proven true. San Fran looks legit again. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they look legit going. It's an East Coast time zone game. They win the game by 31 points. Could have been worse. They tried to get Christian McCaffrey to extend his touchdown streak. They had the ball first and goal, gave the ball 4 times. Jacksonville did everything they could to make sure he didn't get his 18th game of a touchdown with a touchdown. But Nicholas, John Bosa, Javon Hargraves both have had really excellent games. Eric Armstead had another good game. George Kittle, 3 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Looked really dynamic. It's always nice to see him come back to life and see him get his touches. Brock Purdy, 296 yards, 19 completions, 3 touchdowns, 148.9 passer rating. I mean, what more can you ask for? You know what you can ask for, Mitchell? A Fred Warner interception, a Talanoa Hufanga interception, and Trevor Lawrence, again, looking pedestrian. He has 17 of 29, 185 yards, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times. He lost a fumble. It was another one of those games for him where he just happened to struggle offensively. His defense wasn't able to pick him up with turnovers and getting stops. And San Francisco looked really good.
Well, Richard, the hype train for the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into this game was as hot as they get. And the 49ers derailed that hype train. You know, this was a test for the Jaguars because I think everyone kind of thought they were on the brink of being a true contender in this league. They got work to do. And I don't know how much of this is the San Francisco 49ers being pissed off, coming off a bye week, losing 3 in a row, finally getting healthy, finally getting their guys back in Debo and Trent Williams. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have to wake up quick from this game because they suffered a defeat like this last year to my Detroit Lions, got absolutely waxed, and then they went on a massive run, ended up winning a playoff game. Let's see if they can regroup going forward. But for the San Francisco 49ers, this tells me that this team right here, they are who we thought they were during the first month and a half of this season. They are a true 1 seed. I believe they can take out the Eagles with relative ease if they are healthy. That is the key word, if they are healthy. But Richard, this defense got back. Chase Young got a sack. You know, Nicholas John Bosa, sack and a half. Your thoughts, once this defensive line gets truly clicking, what is the limit for this defense? And Richard, one caveat to this before you start. I didn't trust this team coming into this week. I had them on my fantasy roster, the defense. And guess who I started instead of them? The Las Vegas Raiders. So clearly I was not a believer coming into this week.
What's going on with you? Mitchell, that's disappointing. But they also got Trent Williams back. Trent Williams came back, played a really good game. He wasn't sure if he'd play. He went up to Kyle Shanahan and said, I got to get out there for my guys. He fought to play. He went out there. He played a very solid game, made some huge blocks to free up Christian McCaffrey on some of those runs. Christian McCaffrey had 95 yards on 16 carries, 6 receptions for 47 yards, but never got in that end zone. But you just saw Deebo Samuel was able to come back, make a huge impact. Brandon Ayuk needs more targets. He needs more targets because he's always open. He's always making these big catches. He just needs the ball more. They found him early, first drive of the game for a touchdown. Brock Purdy throwing it across his body, ill-advised, but it was a touchdown, so we're going to accept it. But, I mean, you got to talk about Purdy. He's having a really good season, 15 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And he had those rough games, those rough couple games that we talked about. You know, everybody criticized him, said he's coming back to earth. This is the guy that he was at Iowa State. But this game shows, no, he is still the guy that he's been his first couple of years, the guy who's won a lot of football games. And I think this team is going to have momentum going forward. I look forward to seeing that.
Well, Brock Purdy certainly put a lot of people's nerves at ease. Like you said, he looks like who we thought he was. And that's a legitimate quarterback in this league. I don't know if he's top tier. I think he's right in the middle. But sky's the limit for him. Sky's the limit for this 49ers offense and defense. And Richard, every week we got a true segment from our friends at Morgan & Morgan. And this week's Making It Look Easy Player of the Week, brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, goes to our friend George Kittle, who I know you played a few years with. He made it look real easy out there. The whole San Francisco team made it look easy, but we're going to focus on Kittle. 3 receptions, 116 yards, and a tutty. Shout out to our friend George Kittle, friend of the program. This is Making It Look Easy, brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. If you're ever injured, go to Morgan & Morgan. That's forthepeople.com/Sherman. Or dial pound law. That's pound 529. Winning in the NFL is hard, but hiring Morgan & Morgan is super easy. Who are the pretenders and who are the contenders? We're more than halfway through the NFL season, but DraftKings Sportsbook is still pumping out unbeatable offers every single game day. New customers can bet just $5 on anything to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this fall. Get in on the football action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the app now and use code Richard. New customers can bet just $5 on anything to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Richard. The crown is yours. Richard, let's take it to Cincinnati. Do we have a rookie MVP candidate on our hands here?
Mitchell, unless you're watching some other game and on some other planet, we definitely do. CJ Stroud is in the MVP conversation. This Houston Texans team was supposed to be a bottom of the league roster, rebuilding, supposed to be a couple of years away, a couple playmakers away. But no, they are here right now. Cincinnati has been playing as good as anybody. They were coming off a huge win. Joe Burrow has been playing as well as anybody, and they humbled him today. They humbled him. CJ Stroud was 23 of 39 for 356 yards, a touchdown, had a costly interception late that almost turned this game around. But D'Amico Ryan, he has to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. He has this team playing well offensively and defensively. They're competing, they're scrappy. The pass rush is getting home. Joe Burrow did still have 27 for 347 and 2 touchdowns, but those 2 interceptions caused by a lot of pressure. Tyler Boyd, my apologies, had 8 catches for 117, but he had a costly drop in the end zone that could have gave them the lead late in the ball game, but he dropped it. They had to settle for a field goal, which tied the game up and allowed CJ Stroud another game-winning drive at the end in the fourth quarter, last drive of the game, with time expiring, with a kicker that they just brought up from the practice squad. You got to give them a lot of credit. But CJ Stroud, 826 passing yards over the last 2 games, the second most by a rookie quarterback behind killer Cam Newton. I mean, what are we talking about, Mitchell?
They are so impressive because Cincinnati's been hot, Rich. I mean, let's not forget that. The Cincinnati is probably one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and they go on the road and they match them step for step, and they dominated this game. And then CJ Stroud had that quote-unquote rookie moment throwing that interception. You thought, okay, maybe this guy is human. Cincinnati comes back. Joe Burrow does Joe Burrow things. And all of a sudden, hey, Cincinnati's going to win this game. But not so fast. CJ Stroud. To me, these are MVP moments. They talk about Heisman moments in the college football ranks. These are MVP moments when you're on the road. He's ushering a very young team, trying to make a playoff run right now, by the way, Rich. That's another thing that's going unnoticed. The Houston Texans are going to be firmly in this playoff conversation the rest of the way. And I can almost promise you no team wants to play him because CJ Stroud has shown that he can put up a lot of points and points in bunches. 356 pass yards, Rich. That is unheard of. And again, it goes back to our conversation last week. The Carolina Panthers, you were there on Thursday night. They have, I know they're going to say all the right things, the coach speak, the GM speak. They're going to say all the right things to protect their young buck and Bryce Young, but I'm sorry. You cannot convince me that they did not make a mistake. This CJ Stroud kid looks beyond legitimate, and he's doing it with weapons. Richard, he's doing it with Tank Dell, right? He's doing it with Noah Brown, career day.
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, Robert Woods. Just imagine once this team gets a true number one wide receiver, because they're going to be able to leverage this rookie, this rookie pay scale that CJ Stroud is going to be on for the next 5 years. Richard, they're going to be able to do a hell of a lot of damage.
They are, and let's talk about their schedule, because they are in it. We can talk about their defense and Sheldon Rankins having 3 sacks. I mean, one of those plays, he got pushed down, got back up, forced the fumble. I mean, that could have been a huge turnover in the game. Cincinnati was able to recover it. Shaq Griffin had an interception. DeAndre Houston Carson had an interception. But they play the Arizona Cardinals next. Mitchell, that's a winnable game for this team. That's definitely a winnable game. I mean, people were looking at this schedule and saying, oh, this should be a win. They're going to look back at some of these games they lost, like the Carolina game. They lost, very 2-point game. The Atlanta game they lost, another 2-point game, as games they wish they could have back, because I can't imagine what we'd be saying if they had won those 2 games. But they got Arizona, Jacksonville, and Denver coming up, Mitchell. They can win all 3 of those games. The Jacksonville game will be a dogfight, but they win all 3 of those games, Mitchell. We're talking about an 8-4 ball club and one of the hottest teams in the NFL.
Who would have thought we'd have a fight in the AFC South, Richard? That looked like the most patty cake division in the league for a good point of time. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars have got to look over their shoulders and be a little nervous with this Texans team.
Don't miss the action this week when the NFL heads to Germany for the Frankfurt Games. These games will air on NFL Network and stream on NFL Plus. For a limited time, Verizon customers can get Netflix and NFL Plus for just $25 a month with Plus Play. That's $120 in annual savings. Plus Play is a platform where Verizon customers can shop, manage, and save on subscriptions they already love, like NFL Plus. With NFL Plus Premium, you get access to live games on mobile, NFL Red Zone, and NFL Network, which means you can catch the Frankfurt games and save. Just go to Verizon.com/the volume to bundle and save before the games. Hurry, this offer ends soon. Again, that's Verizon.com/the volume.
Richard, the Baltimore Ravens. Let's take it to Baltimore. Cleveland pulls off a massive win, division win. This Baltimore team started off immediately. Pick 6, touchdown. Within 5 minutes of the game, it's 14-0. And they'll go, here we go again. Baltimore's going to run away with this thing in convincing fashion. No. Cleveland, 6-3. This defense is legitimate. They got a good squad. I mean, Baltimore did their things, putting up 31 points. But Richard, how does Baltimore lose this game? Because everything looked like it was going in their direction, and Cleveland just kept scrapping.
Mitchell, these are 2 of the best defenses in the National Football League coming in, and that's points per game, that's yards, that's passing yards, rushing yards. And these offenses just found a way. Deshaun Watson struggled a lot of the game, and to the point where there was a time P.J. Walker was warming up on the sidelines, and there was grumblings on Twitter of people calling for P.J. Walker to come in the game. But Jerome Ford ran the ball really well. Amari Cooper continues his very, very solid season as the number 1 receiver on his team. Myles Garrett, a sack and a half. Greg Newsome with a crucial clutch pick 6. This game Cleveland could have got away early in this game. I mean, they could have got away before this time, because they had the time where the Ravens were in the red zone, and they kept giving them penalty first downs after they got the stops, 3 and out, and kept giving them first downs. We talked about that. And then they eventually get the ball in the end zone, but Cleveland just keeps fighting. That defense just kept making plays. They stayed in it, and they found a way to win. And we've been talking about Lamar Jackson being an MVP candidate. But he can't have a game like this where he only has 13 completions for 223 yards, a touchdown, but those 2 costly interceptions. We talked about OBJ. OBJ had the 40-yard catch and run touchdown where it looked like everything was going Baltimore's way. This is the team that is going to do big things in the playoffs. And the Browns found a way to come back and win this ball game. And it's cool to see. You know, this is something the Cleveland fans deserve. This division is going to be a dogfight because we have the Baltimore Ravens this Thursday in Baltimore playing the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be another dogfight. Both teams need this win, and I can't wait for it.
Well, you deserve it too, Richard. You had to go to Chicago and endure the Carolina Panthers-Bears game. You guys deserve this one. But you hit the nail on the head with this Browns team. They overcame adversity after adversity in this game. First possession of the game, pick six. You know, then when they finally are looking like they're tying the game up with friend of the program, Greg Newsome, pick six, they missed the PAT. You know, so it's like, oh my God, are they just not going to be able to pull this off? Is this just what Baltimore is? They're good and they're lucky. Like, this is crazy. And then sure as hell, the Browns came back. Huge statement win for this team. Going and playing at home against the Steelers next week. That is going to be a very, very big test for Cleveland. We'll see who comes out victorious in that one. Richard, let's take it to Minnesota. Josh Dobbs. Let's start right there.
Josh Dobbs.
Frickin' Dobbs, the NASA astronaut in training. This guy can do it all. He can run it. He can throw it. He can fly to Mars if you need him to. Whatever you need, Richard. Who would have thunk this guy has won 2 games in a row for the Minnesota Vikings, and all of a sudden this Vikings team is firmly back in the playoff picture, and heck, maybe even in the division race. Richard, your thought about Josh Dobbs and this Minnesota Vikings team?
Well, I mean, I'd slow down on that, Metro, because they're chasing your Detroit Lions, and your Detroit Lions look good. But Josh Dobbs looks like a legitimate NFL quarterback. He's gotten 2 wins, and this team looked really good early on. They were rolling before New Orleans, before Derek Carr got hurt, and then your guy comes in, famous Jameis comes in, throwing the ball all around the yard, you know, taking big risks, making big plays. He threw 2 touchdowns, but then he threw the 2 costly interceptions. But it's a fun team to watch, Mitchell. They believe TJ Hawkinson, 11 catches on 15 targets for 134 yards and a touchdown. It's cool to see this team and Josh Dobbs with a full week of practice this time. You could see him in total command of the offense. 268 yards on 23 completions is a career high for him, a touchdown. He had 8 rushes for 44 yards and another touchdown. He just looks good. He looks comfortable. He looks like a guy who believes he belongs in this situation, believes he belongs on a successful team, and that's the way he's playing. He's putting the ball everywhere it needs to be, but the defense is also playing well for the Minnesota Vikings. Byron Murphy, Mekhi Blackman both had an interception. Mekhi was kind of on a last second, heave by Jameis, but still, Danielle Hunter continues his dominance, his leading sack performance, another sack in this game. I think that gives him 11 on the season. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about Danielle Hunter and everything he's doing. Mitchell, he's been as consistent as anybody in this game. I think he's had a sack in just about every game this season. He's got 11 on a year, been leading the league pretty much since the start of the season. I expect him, this is going to be an all-pro year for him. Maybe a Pro Bowl all-pro year. It should be first team, but, with guys like Bosa and T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, it's hard. It's easy to overlook a guy like Danielle Hunter, who's having a really productive season, but I'm just really excited for this team, man. They're rolling.
They sure are. I mean, Josh Dobbs, one of the craziest stats that I saw during the game is he's second in the NFL among quarterbacks in rushing yards. He leads quarterbacks with the most 20-yard plus runs. That's not something you would expect out of the pastronaut, Josh Dobbs. I mean, and here we go, man. I mean, and they go on the road. The NFL's blessed us with another primetime game with the Denver Broncos next Sunday. Minnesota goes into Denver, and heck, I mean, they could be looking at 7-4 pretty easily. And when I say that, Richard, we got a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, the Detroit Lions are taking it to the LA Chargers. Not so fast on this division, eh, Rich?
In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story. but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks. Untold tales of athletes you thought you knew. The heart-racing pressure for the heart, soul, and survival of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Stories about college kids who are given a last chance at redemption. David Beckham's meteoric rise to not only becoming a global soccer phenomenon, but also becoming one of the biggest celebrity couples in pop culture. From upsets to injuries, from comebacks to victories, we get to see it all with Netflix Sports. These are the stories that turn us all into fans and give everyone something to cheer for, to feel for, to hold your breath for, and get up out your seat for. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new. With shows like F1, Drive to Survive, Quarterback, Full Swing, Untold, Beckham, and so many more, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. Netflix turns us all into fans.
Let's go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh squeaks out another win, but Kenny Pickett, he didn't throw in any picks. So Kenny Pickett, no, he can't pick it. He's thrown in no interceptions, but he's only throwing for 126 yards. And Richard, before we get into this game, we were talking about it off air before we started. There are quarterbacks that take calculated risks, and there are quarterbacks that check down, and just lead to a frustrating offense. I see Kenny Pickett as one of those guys. Richard, one of your colleagues on Thursday Night Football, Ryan Fitzpatrick, just took shots downfield. You know, same thing we see with Jameis Winston. Same thing we're seeing with Josh Dobbs. But he's given his playmakers chances. Richard, Kenny Pickett does not appear to be that guy. I'm shocked, for one, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-3. But that goes more to coaching than anything. Your thoughts on Kenny Pickett and the Steelers team, Rich?
Well, I mean, their defense is what's keeping them in a lot of these ball games, and that much is clear. Patrick Peterson tipped the ball for Keanu Neal to intercept it. A huge play in the end zone, which really tipped the scales in this game. DeMonte Kazee had the game-sealing interception, you know, when everybody was back, and Jordan Love tried to force it in the end zone. There was, you know, little to nothing to be gained in that possession. But at the end of the day, he's doing enough to win the ball game, but they cannot feel comfortable that this is the answer going forward. I mean, he has a guy who can be an all-pro receiver, could be a big-time receiver in George Pickens, and he can't even find a way to just throw the ball up to him. Make it simple. Every time you think Matt Canada has it figured out and Matt Canada's doing it, he has a comeback to earth game, and you don't know if it's Kenny Pickett or Matt Canada, but Jaylen Warren did have 15 catches for 101 yards. 15 rushes for 101 yards. Najee Harris, 16 rushes for 82 yards. Both of them had a touchdown. So maybe that's it. Maybe they just need to keep running the heck out of the football, because that's between two guys. That's 183 rushing yards. And you got to give them credit, because the Packers have done a solid job this season stopping the run. And again, Jordan Love looked good down the stretch when they needed to have it. He was very, very good down the stretch, making big passes, completing the ball, taking shots. He was 21 of 40 for 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, but the 2 costly interceptions, one of them was a tip pass. The other one was a pass that he had to force to give his team a chance at the end zone. But they're 3-6, the Green Bay Packers. Their record could be worse at this point, and I just still don't think Jordan Love is the answer.
He's not the answer, and I think management has got to be asking themselves a hell of a lot of questions. We've already talked about it enough, but you had Aaron Rodgers in the building, and you said, we're good. Big mistake. You can't strike gold 3 times in a row. Steelers, kudos to them getting the win. They play a huge game at the Browns next week. We will see about that. Richard, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this NFC South, there's a division like it every year. And this year it's the NFC South, where it just appears no one wants to win the division. It was like this last year. It's been like this, last couple seasons. But this Bucs team wins a big game against the Tennessee Titans, and they do it in convincing fashion. And, I don't, what's to be made of this division, Rich? Because there's not a whole lot to talk about here, but who do you like? Do you like the Bucs? Do you like the Saints? Do you like the Atlanta Falcons? What's to be made of this division at this point? Someone's going to have to win it.
I guess I like Tampa because they've won it for the past couple of years, even with the losing record last year. They find a way to get it done. I think they probably have the most talented team in the division. It's debatable because the Saints also have a talented roster. I think Atlanta's kind of outplaying the talent on their roster, but Arthur Smith just doesn't seem to want to give his best player the football for some reason. They don't want to run their best player, which is just insane. I don't understand that. But Mike Evans had another fantastic game, 6 catches for 143 yards and a big boy muscular TD where he drug the defender into the end zone. And I think as long as you have these receivers, you have a chance because Baker, when everything goes wrong, you put it up to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and have a lot of success. And so I don't know, Mitchell. I think I like where the Titans are going, but they just don't have enough talent right now. Derrick Henry got contained pretty well. When you got this Todd Bowles coach defense, it's going to be tough to run the football. But they have to find a way in Tampa Bay to run the football because they have a tough stretch coming up, and it's starting with next week at the 49ers. That's going to be a tough game for them to come out with a win.
Yeah, no question, and they need a win there. I mean, they got a playmaker in the backfield in Rachaad White, but he's a better pass catcher than he is a running back at this point in time. Like you said, the weapons are there. Mike Evans, and this is a guy unlike Kenny Pickett. Baker Mayfield loves giving his receivers chances. That's why I like him as a quarterback. The Bucs, I like them in this division, despite the fact I think they're going to get the brakes beat off them next week in San Francisco. Richard, let's go to a whole different continent here. We're going to take it across the pond. New England against the Indianapolis Colts this morning. I almost feel bad. Was this game in the UK? I almost feel bad for the
It was
fan
in
base
Germany,
out.
Mitchell. Even worse.
It was in Germany. I feel bad for the folks in Germany that they had to watch a game like this. And I feel bad that the NFL booked the New England Patriots out there because I'm sure these fans are fired up to be watching these games, but I can't think of many people that would want to go see the Colts play the Patriots right now, especially with the Patriots playing how they are. And sure as shit, they scored 6 points. I mean, was the German fan base booing the Patriots at this point? I mean, are they getting booed overseas, Rich?
I have no idea, Mitchell. But they should have been. They should be booed. 2-8 is the worst start for the Patriots since Bill Belichick's first year in 2000. Mitchell, again and again, you just keep showing this isn't, is it the coach? Is it the players? It doesn't matter. This is Bill Belichick. You never expect this. It's great coaches. You don't expect these kind of seasons from when you're the greatest coach of all time. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, Mitchell. Not a 2-8 season, right. Mitchell. A losing season in general in his entire 17-year NFL career as a head coach. And we don't give him the kind of credit because Belichick had Tom Brady and Belichick won these Super Bowls with Tom Brady. But if you just judge it without Tom Brady, it's a different kind of conversation. And that's why people are saying, is his seat getting hot? It's not. He just got signed for an extension. They announced it. He was signed for an extension by the New England Patriots. I think they feel comfortable going forward with him. That is what it is. There was grumblings that he'll get fired if they don't beat on the way back, if they don't beat the Indianapolis Colts. Well, they didn't beat the Indianapolis Colts, and he's not getting fired because of the success he's had with this program, because of the success he's had over the last 2 decades. So people need to stop that. That needs to stop. But there needs to be a fix, and there needs to be some kind of accountability. You just can't keep saying, Bill Belichick is the greatest, and he's above reproach and above criticism because, what do you say? The team is 2-8. They're 2-8. They don't look well coached. You see the clip of Bill O'Brien going off on Mac Jones. You bench Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi comes in and doesn't do much better, throws an interception, forces the ball in there. They ran the ball pretty good, but at the end of the day, you got beat by a team that played really good defense. Rodney Thomas and Julian Blackmon both had interception, 3 sacks for Dayo Adian. I knew I was going to mess this up. Odiembo?
Odiembo. Yes, sir.
Odiembo.
That's a big...
There we go. Michael Pittman Jr. had a solid game, and they lost to Gardner Minshew, who didn't throw for a touchdown. Lowest scoring game in the NFL this season. First time the Colts have scored less than 20 points this season, but I'm sure they don't mind because they won the game. So what do you make of this, Mitchell? I don't make much of it. I mean, the Colts were a better team. They surpassed their win total from 2022, and they're doing fine. But the New England Patriots have a lot of questions to answer, but one of them isn't whether Bill Belichick is getting fired or not, because he's not.
Yeah, New England's one of those teams, when you go up a field goal, like you feel comfortable that you're going to win the game. And there's not a whole lot of other teams in the league that are like that. I mean, that just kind of goes to show how they've been. And you touched on Tom Brady and his history there. Richard, in 20 seasons with Tom Brady at the helm in New England, the Patriots lost 66 games. That's an average of 3.3 games a season. Since he's left, they've lost 33 games. I mean, that is... I respect the fact. I respect the fact of Coach Belichick being involved in that, and leading this team to historical, win after win after win, Super Bowl after Super Bowl. But questions are abound right now, to say the least. New England, if there is a hot seat with their coaching staff, they might want to look elsewhere. I know that you said that they've just signed him to an extension, but it's only a contract, right, Richard?
I mean,
our friends over at Uber Eats, we're going to feature them week in, week out. And this week, segment brought to you by Uber Eats, the almost perfect defense of the week, where we highlight the NFL defense that puts on the week's most dominating performance. It's the Indianapolis Colts. And I feel like going forward, it's going to be whoever plays against the New England Patriots, because their offense is that bad. I think
that's probably true, Mitchell.
We might want to look forward to next week. The Patriots on bye, so they're not going to win, they're not going to lose next week. But the Colts held the Pats to 6 points, sacked Mac Jones 5 times, picked him and Bailey Zappi off. So that's this week's almost perfect defense of the week. And remember, you can order almost anything you want on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Richard, I ordered Uber Eats last night. It was delicious. So you guys got to do it. It is. We appreciate you guys joining us. As we mentioned, we're not going to be able to cover all the games. Richard's got to catch a flight to go to Undisputed, but there will be more commentary going forward about the Seahawks and their battle they got going against the Commanders, and my Lions, beating up on the Chargers right now.
Well, it's not as dominant as it once was, Mitchell. The Chargers just respond, but that's all we got for now. We'll have another update for you tomorrow. Hopefully, the Seattle Seahawks make me a profit. I hope so, and I can't wait to let you guys know how it goes.